What up, people? It's your boy Chig from Green and Eagle Eye, coming to you again with a brand new video. This time it is an Eagle Eye episode where I talk to you about transfer rumors flying around this summer, and I give my opinions on them. So first things first, although the camera will be off today because I am hot as fuck and I can't find my t-shirt, so I figured I'd spare you guys the sight and, do it with my camera off today. But moving forward, my camera will be on. I finally got a haircut, so the debut of which will be debuting this weekend. So hopefully you guys will enjoy that sight. Yeah, that was pretty much just going to explain why my camera was off once again. In the meantime, though, do slap a like on the video and hit the subscribe button if you've not subscribed already. All right, so let's keep this thing motoring forward because I don't want to keep you guys too long. Let's talk about the most ridiculous story where I saw it and I laughed, and that was for this young man, Mr. Aaron Ramsdale, the most average goalkeeper I think I've ever seen in my entire life. He's currently the Sheffield United goalkeeper. He's Sheffield United, who I thought, ironically, Sheffield United paid too much for him at £18 million. And they bought him last summer from Bournemouth. By all intents and purposes, though, in terms of success, he's had a good year. I mean, you've got to give it to him. Let's forget the fact that, all right, his team has been relegated. But he's got himself into the England setup. He's currently at the Euros. So he's clearly doing something right. So regardless of what we want to say about whether we think he's overrated or not, he's doing something correctly. He's 23 years old, which obviously for a keeper is a baby. And apparently Arsenal won him. I don't get it myself. I must admit I do not get it. I'd actually rather keep this man. That is how much I don't get it. I must admit, the one thing I'll give Leno, at least he's a very good shot stopper. So for us to be pressing ahead and trying to buy, like apparently we're like in deep talks with Sheffield United over this guy. Sheffield United are looking for the region of about 30 million plus for him. We're looking at something closer to the £20 million mark, of course, because we like to nickel and dime like that. But yeah, supposedly we are heavily. I mean, this is not a rumor. If you believe in the story, like if you really read into the story, read all of the people that are reporting on the story. Hold on 2 seconds. So yeah, so all the people that are reporting on the story, they are honestly suggesting that there is some legs on this, and that we are heavily after him. What I don't understand is whatever happened to this plan, the Onana plan. For anyone who doesn't know the Onana plan, this is a guy who, up until recently, was banned from doping until next February, and because he's supposed to be a really good goalkeeper, like at one point, I think it was like in 2016 or something, he was valued at like £45 million. Like he's supposed to be hot shit, and then he got banned from doping. Sorry, he got banned because he was found guilty for doping, and yeah, he recently had his appeal, and that appeal was reduced to November. So you would have thought that Arsenal would have been all over that because they were talking about cut price deals for him. That Ajax were pretty open to selling him as well, just because they can't be asked for that drama. And that he was supposedly very interested in a move to the Premier League. What we've later found out is that actually more than just Arsenal were on point here, and lots of people have made contact with his agents. So as a result, Arsenal decided, all right, well, let's just in case we lose out on this deal, let's not dilly dally too long. We need to get ourselves a backup situation, which then brings into focus this guy. Because I understood that we were in talks with him, like from before the season even finished. Matt Ryan was a backup veteran goalkeeper that we got in January. Um, for all intents and purposes, has impressed backstage. Obviously, an experienced hand. He always looked okay to me, and I'm not as besotted with him as some of you guys were. But he looked like a decent shortstopper to me. 5'11", so not particularly tall. Australian goalkeeper, but vast experience, lots and lots of experience. And obviously, we were looking to sign him to be a number two, and he was an Arsenal fan, so I think many people just assumed that he would sign on. But this is why sometimes you can't take these things for granted. Just because you're an Arsenal fan doesn't mean a damn thing. If it's your last contract, it's your last contract, and you're looking to get as much P as possible. And supposedly there are lots and lots of teams that are interested in speaking to Matt Ryan. So don't be surprised if he does not end up signing on at Arsenal, which then kind of brings you back to focus the Aaron Ramsdale deal. Now, 23 years old, 26 million. They think that they may agree on a fee for. Me personally, hold on 1 second. My phone is buzzing off. What have I done now? Yeah, me personally, I'm not sure if I personally would make that deal. Um, but I also don't particularly rate him that highly. It'd be interesting to see if you guys rate him that highly. Leave it in the message, leave it in the chat room. I'm going to come into the chat room shortly. I'm not seeing what you guys are saying, but I will come into the chat room. What do you guys think? Is this a deal that you guys would go for? What I don't understand is, weren't we supposed to be interested in who's that Newcastle United goalkeeper that's supposed to be like amazing, but has been on loan for Swansea City for like the last couple of years? It's got like a really English name as well. I can't remember what it is. I thought we were after him, so I don't know where this geezer came from. I'm just not impressed with Ramsdale. I'm not impressed at all. I've looked at him a couple of times because he's become, for one reason or another, I looked at him for fantasy football purposes. I just weren't impressed. Man. I weren't impressed. But he's England international, so you've got that premium to add on. But what do you guys think? Am I being incredibly harsh? Let me know. Leave it in the comments below. That was the first story, which I was like, bullshit. Second story, I was like, bullshit, was this one. Mr. James Maiddison. Now, I already hear what you lot are saying. Oh, but Chick, why could it be bullshit? Because, he's lost out at his place in the Leicester side, and, he's been a bit injury prone, and, they may let him go. I think for the reason you stated two reasons I wouldn't get him already. The fact that he's injury prone, and the fact that, I feel as though Leicester have they're almost allowing him to go too easily. I must admit to you guys, though, I'll readily admit it. The Maiddison thing, I've not always got it. I'll put my hands up and admit it. You guys will know me. I always try and be as real as I possibly can be on my own channel. Because I think if you can't be real on your own channel, what's your point? What's the point? Right? You guys have never heard me bang on about James Maiddison. Right? Not because I think he's a shit player, but I think he's heavily overrated. I always have done. I think he's heavily overrated. I think he's a decent enough player, but when you start talking the likes of 50 million plus for him, I'm like, all right, easy, fella. I know he's 24 years old. He's an England international. I know lots of people felt that he was unlucky to miss out on the Euros this year. which in itself tells its own story, in my opinion. The fact that he is injury prone and clearly that did cost him. His form, I think, went out the window as well as the fact that he was injured. I just think that for me, am I the only one that thinks that doesn't want this deal to happen? Like I would again, to steal the famous words of a certain YouTuber, I'd rather Grealish. If we're looking to spend that sort of dough on someone who I think is more consistent, is a little less injury prone, and actually can galvanize the team through his performances and his leadership, and actually get some members of the team. Not saying that Maddison wouldn't, by the way. I would rather Grealish. If we got Grealish money, then go and get Grealish. I didn't know we had Grealish money. So yeah, I feel like when I saw that story, I was like, can't be serious. But again, I've argued with various different people today, and they all seem to think that he would be worth the investment because he's very talented. Um, Again, listen, don't get me wrong. If Arsenal went ahead and spent that money on Maddison, I would firstly be very surprised. Don't get me wrong. I would be very surprised. But secondly, I'd be like, hey, so we have Grealish money, but we're getting Maddison. Okay. Having said that, and I see some people say it in the chat room already, I know he's a talented enough player. I do. I do sense that he is a talented enough player, and I do think we need another player in Smith Rowe's position, Smith Rowe I'll come to in a second. In Smith Rowe's position, who can play like him. And one thing I would say is that, in my personal opinion, you guys might disagree a little bit. I do think that Maddison has the ability to play between the lines like Smith Rowe. Yes, he is very good on the ball, don't get me wrong, but I also think he's very good off the ball as well. I think that does help his play and helps him become undetected. I think a lot of the reason why Smith Rowe is in the team is because his off the ball positioning and play is, for me, the best in the side. Because I don't think on the ball he's amazingly fantastic, for me to be honest. But his off the ball is so good at making space for himself and others. I think that's why Arteta really likes him in the team. So, and I think Maddison does that in a slightly different way, but it's maybe in a slightly more mature way. And I must admit, what is surprising me is that it looks like I didn't think it had much legs in it. And I'll come to the story in a second, but it looks like Arsenal might actually be considering letting go of Smith Rowe. Like, I think they're really paying some genuine interest in selling Smith Rowe. And I'll come to that story in a second because you're probably thinking, what are you talking about? They just rejected a bid. And I'll come to it in a second. But yeah, I think with Maddison, for me personally, 50 million feels too much to me. It feels too much to it. But like I say, if we have that sort of money, go and get Grealish. Don't waste time on Maddison. Maddison feels like potentially an Aston Villa signing. I can see Aston Villa looking to sign him if they let go of Grealish. But I think it could be a good fit there, to be fair. But what do you guys think? Let me know. Leave it in the comments below. All right. I guess let's move on to Mr. James Maiddison. Sorry, let's move on to Mr. Smith Rowe. Emil Smith Rowe. So there's a belief all along that with 2 years left, Emil Smith Rowe doesn't want to be anywhere else but be an Arsenal player. He's an Arsenal fan, always has been. His whole family is. They all live in Croydon. They've always been Arsenal fans there, and He has no desire to leave anytime soon. But there is a reluctance of signing a new deal. And the Arsenal board are getting a little bit itchy. They're getting a little bit nervous. And in spite of what the great Fabrizio what's his name? Camaro, Romario, whatever his name is. That journalist always seems to be right. Despite what the great Fabrizio says, it looks like there may be some legs in this Smith Rowe thing. Aston Villa have very recently bidded £25 million for Emil Smith Rowe, which was also soundly rejected by Arsenal. But there's a feeling that if Aston Villa was to increase that by another 10 million, it would not necessarily be against it. For me, in my personal opinion, I think you send a bad message sending another one of your top stroke promising players to Aston motherfucking Villa. I said last year it was a mistake letting go of Emi Martinez and keeping Bernd Leno. I knew it was a mistake because A, I could see who the better goalkeeper was, and B, we were strengthening a team which, quite frankly, are on the up and up. And I know that sounds laughable. We finished 8th. They finished 11th. They weren't that far behind us. They're a young team, very, very good young team with a good midfield. And they're a team that are definitely on the up and up. You watch, I bet any money they finish higher than 11th this year. You know, they're not fucking around. They've got an owner that backs them. They've got a manager that I think has a bit about himself. They are finishing no 11th this year. They definitely ain't finishing lower than 11th this year. They're a young side with a good midfield. Is it? I don't think you're not exactly seeing Jack Grealish banging on the door, begging to leave Aston Villa, which in itself tells its own freaking story. So I think they're a team on the up and up. And it wouldn't surprise me if Emil Smith Rowe was tempted by, such a project. I hope he stays because I do think he's a good player. I know that he does split some of the fan base because I know some of the fan base they don't really get what he does because, like I say, on the ball, I don't think he's necessarily the, the most gracious looking. But I think off the ball, his movement, the way he creates space for people, I think is very, very good. It's a good asset to have in the team. Plus, I think, he developed so much last year through not having an injury. Smith Rowe was always one to have a big injury that would fuck up his development. And he didn't really last year. I think if he has another one of those this year, I think he'll take a big step forward. Plus, I don't like the idea of letting Joe Willock go and Emil Smith Rowe go. And you guys know I would sell Joe Willock. I would. I would sell him. One little hot streak for me doesn't erase, you know, months of shitty performances. And granted, I do think some of those shitty performances have been due to the way Mikel Arteta has played. But Lord knows when we're going to get rid of this motherfucker. So we can only play a team that is suitable to for him. So that all these people that like making excuses for Mikel Arteta won't have him anymore. Well, you can't blame a Joe Willock now because you sold him. You can't blame a William Saliba now because you sold him. This is your side. Excuse me, guys. What tickly cough? I tell you. I'll get some done. Sorry, 1 second. We have one really good coughing fit. Oh yeah, that was the one that hit. That really hit. Um, so I think for me, I think with Emil Smith Rowe, hopefully we'll keep him unless we get a crazy bid for him. Now, if we get crazy, 35 million to me is crazy. Or if we could get a deal that allows us to get Jack Grealish, then okay, all right, fair enough. But I think for now, I would keep him. I think he'd be a useful asset to us. Like I said, I'd also sell Joe Willock as well, especially if we could get £25 million plus for him. But again, what do you guys think? Am I off the mark? Let me know. Leave it in the comments below. 66 of you guys. I hope there's at least 66 likes. Please do drive those likes through the roof. It helps other people notice what we're doing over here. Two more stories I'm going to talk about real quick because as much as I saw ridiculous stories, excuse me, three more stories I'm going to talk about here. Sorry, but one more ridiculous one that I completely forgot about, and that is Mr. Ben White. Now, I spoke about this guy last time because I just assumed when the story came up, I just assumed, okay, some bullshit, It's clear to me. I think one thing is clear to me with all these stories. Yes, I think sometimes, people like us who report on transfer stories do get hated on a lot because, the amount of messages that sometimes we'll get is, why do you report on transfer rumors? They're transfer rumors. All right, I've never told you that they're not transfer rumors. And I understand the meaning of rumors. And I always tell you that this is a rumor show. But, as an Arsenal fan, I'd like to hear what stories are out there. Because one thing rumors are usually indicative of is what the club's intention for that position is. So those of us who sat here, and I was one of them, just after the season ended, and looked at positions that you may want to strengthen, but they're not a priority. I would have suggested that centre back was top of that list. Not because we've had amazing centre backs or anything, but because we've had so many. Oh my goodness. We have so many. We have so many centre backs that I just assumed that we didn't need any more. And of course, we had Willian Saliba's come back, and he'd had such a good loan spell. Even Mavropanos apparently had a really good loan spell. Although I fully expected Mavropanos to be, I was not one of them ones that was suddenly hoping that Mavropanos would turn his Arsenal career around. I always fully expected Mavropanos to leave. So yeah, so for me, it was always an area where I felt like, all right, I have limited money, let's spend it elsewhere. But then ever since then, it seems like some of the more high-profile people that we're looking for are centre backs, and none more so than apparently Mr. Ben White, who plays for Brighton. Supposedly, not only are we heavily interested in Ben White, we had a £40 million approach turned down for Ben White over the last 24 hours. But Arsenal are apparently still locked in talks with Brighton. I'm like, do we want him that badly? And don't get me wrong, I think he's a good defender. I've heard some bullshit over the last couple of days where people think, oh, he's not much better than Rob Holding or Sharp. He's better than Rob Holding. I'll give him that. I think he's a good defender. Chig knows defenders. I think he's a good defender. 23 years old. Can see him getting better. Don't think he's the finished article yet. But I don't think that Arsenal are bidding for him to be the finished article. I think Arsenal only bid like this when you're a young player. And he's a young player with a lot of potential. Um, I don't necessarily see someone who in a few years' time will be the best defender ever, but then people develop at different rates. And I guess what we're hoping from an Arsenal perspective is that he's going to develop at a really exciting rate and really do something in this league. Um, having said that, having said that, it begs the question. It begs several questions. All right, but we have 8 centre backs on the books. Sorry, excuse me. Socrates is gone now. 7 centre backs on the books. So with 7 centre backs on the books already, we've got Salah coming back. You got to start selling some. Let's forget the Saliba situation for a second. You had to sell somebody before making this purchase. Now you want to make this purchase, you definitely need to sell someone now because it's not like we have European football to keep all these people satisfied. So I would suggest you probably need to roll with 4 centre backs. The 4 centre backs I would pick, I want to let you guys know. I'll probably do it in a special chocolate block episode. So I won't let you guys know just yet. But I have an idea of who I would keep. They would be, shock alert. They would be the best possible 4 I could make out of these 8, and then I'll sell the rest if I could sell the rest. But I don't know what you guys think. I mean, there are some people that I think are just legitimately excited that Arsenal want to spend so much money on a particular player. They don't care whether or not it makes sense. For me, I like the idea of Arsenal spending money on shit that makes sense. We ain't done that for a long fucking time. And admittedly, it's a long fucking time. I mean, pre-Mesut Ozil days. Because even when we bought Mesut Ozil for the 42.5 million that we spent on him, we needed a striker that day. We didn't need no attacking midfielder. People forget. So it's been a long time since we've strategized. And it's a shame because in terms of the exits, we seem like we're being on point. We've targeted Bellerin as someone we're going to exit. We've targeted Granit Xhaka as someone we're going to exit. We target Bert Leno as someone that's going to exit. These are 3 players that are calamity Janes when it comes to our team. David Luiz is on his way out. That's a number 4 right there. They are calamity Janes when it comes to our team. So these for me are moves that make sense. What doesn't make sense is bringing in a centre back like Ben White. It's just like, so what are you going to do then? Pair him up with Rob Holding? Because that's the last calamity Jane we have left. I've kind of made peace with the fact that Salah is probably going to end up going because, Arteta, like I say, is useless when it comes to young players. And it seems like, just judging by the Guendouzi situation, and that's the story I'll come to in a second, judging by the Guendouzi situation, young, especially if you're a young guy, unless you come groveling, in hand, begging to suck this guy's dick and apologizing, it's like he won't forgive you. He won't forgive you. He won't consider the fact that you're young, you're petulant, sometimes you make mistakes, and maybe, I could see maybe in the lead up to Salah leaving, I could see them having a heated discussion. Then obviously that whole tape thing came out with Salah, and that made things worse. And then maybe Arteta just thought, you know what, let me just cut ties on this guy. He's clearly immature. He's not someone that I could particularly deal with. I don't care how talented he is. I'm just going to cut ties with him. I don't care how good he is. I'm going to cut ties with him. You know, and that definitely seems to be what has happened with Guendouzi, where he's clearly he's had this thought process of, you know, I'm just going to cut ties with Guendouzi regardless. The Guendouzi thing, for me, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I still don't understand what this motherfucker did wrong. I still don't understand it. I see lots of podcasts to talk about the fact that, oh, they don't want Guendouzi back because his attitude is all wrong. Newsflash, motherfuckers. When Guendouzi was supposed to be worth £70 million, he had the same freaking attitude. So don't tell me it is attitude. The way I see it is this guy decided, you know what? Regardless, and don't get me wrong, me and Lee ridiculed people that was going after that Brighton striker, saying that he was reckless for injuring Leno. But at the time, Guendouzi don't know that shit. So Guendouzi is just like, what the fuck? And he's the only one sticking up for his teammate, showing passion for his teammate. Probably the only thing that you can accuse him of is the fact that he has too much passion. If that is a criticism, and you must be joking as his manager, there's no way I would ever say to a football player they have too much passion. You must be joking. You must be joking. But if they could show too much passion. And ever since then, it's been vilified. And like I said, to this day, I still don't know what he's supposed to have done. I still don't understand. But hey ho, we are where we are. And now, months later, it looks like Guendouzi, you know, I wasn't going to talk about this story right now, but it looks like Guendouzi is now on his way to Marseille, or they are talking about a last minute bid from Borussia Dortmund, because Borussia Dortmund apparently see him as potentially a good replacement for Jude Bellingham if Jude Bellingham ends up leaving the club. So they see him as potentially a good replacement for him. So Borussia Dortmund are having a look at him, but the likelihood is that Bellingham will stay at Dortmund, and that you know, Guendouzi will end up going to Marseille, because personal terms were agreed with Marseille ages ago. Arsenal have been haggling to shit over a couple of million euros with Marseille, and that's the reason why he hasn't gone anywhere yet. Which, fair play, I don't mind that, because Arsenal are trying not to be bitches about it for once. For once. They're insisting on, no, we said 10 million euros. Or we said, no, we said 10 million pounds. Don't try it. And maybe Marcel are trying to do some bookie shit. So I'm all for it. I'm all for it. But anyway, I digress. Let's come back to Ben White. We bid at £40 million. Brighton wants £60 million. Arsenal are still in talks, in spite of knowing that price, with Brighton over Ben White. Watch your space, people. Maybe Arsenal might actually be serious about this one and drag it over the line. What do you guys think? I still lean towards bullshit for money more than anything, but there's just so much about it that don't make a lot of sense. But again, like I said, what do you think? Let me know. Leave it in the comments below. All right. Final two stories I wanted to talk about, because these ones I can believe. These ones are more likely. And that is Ivan Perisic. Yes, this was a story I saw yesterday. Laughed and thought, yep, this is more Arsenal speed. This is more Arsenal's pace right here. A player that perhaps we should have got 10 years ago under Arsene Wenger. That now we're on the verge of perhaps, maybe, just about securing his services. 32-year-old Ivan Perisic is being linked with a move to Arsenal. And supposedly Arteta is very much considering him. Big admirer of his. Um, and, sees him as an experienced head, someone who can play that, almost that kind of Mkhitaryan experienced attacking midfielder role, type of role. Obviously, if Willian ends up leaving, they feel that this move, ends up being a lot more likely. And it's interesting that I say Willian because this could only be a Willian point two. Because nothing against Ivan Perisic, but flipping heck, talk about 10 years too late. No, thank you. No, thank you. I saw this story and I just laughed and I thought, yeah, typical Arsenal. Typical Arsenal. No, thank you. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Is this a guy that you could see yourself being interested in? Not for me, I've got to admit. But let me know. Leave it in the comments below. But yeah, nothing against him. Listen, who knows? Maybe he has one more season ahead of him where he's good. See, the problem. This is part of the problem because it is someone like Perisic. Instead of giving him a year, this is the difference between say someone like us and someone like Man United, right? Someone like Man United will see someone like Ibrahimovic, right? And they'll say, okay, we don't care that you're Ibrahimovic. We're going to give you a year. And then if you turn out to do something, we'll have that option, just in case, to extend it for a further year. Arsenal are the kind of idiots that would give Ibrahimovic a 4-year deal because it's Ibrahimovic. Case in point, flipping Willian. So this is where I do worry, but I don't know what you guys think. I hope we don't get him, but again, let me know. Leave it in the comments below. Last story before I come into the chat room real quick and see what you guys thinking, and that is this young man, or not so young man, Carrera from Lazio, is being linked with a move to Arsenal. Was being linked with a move to Arsenal on Tuesday, to be fair. Not seen so many links yesterday or today. 26 years old, scored 11 goals and 6 assists last season. He's a big unit of a player, It's bigger than I thought. Because I'd always heard about this Carrera guy, and I just assumed he was some slender geezer. But he's like 6'3", almost 6'4". Big unit of a player. Not exactly prolific, but I know a couple of Donnies that still watch Italian football, and they seem to reckon that he would kill it in the Premier League because of his physique, the way he's built, and just they feel like he has the talent to be able to adapt to the Premier League. Like his game is much better suited to the Premier League. I don't watch Italian football, so I can't sit here and tell you one way or another if that's the case. But what do you guys think? Is this something that you might be interested in? Supposedly West Ham have been sniffing around him, as have Tottenham, as have Everton. Let's face it, those sort of teams are shopping in our market. Let's just be real. So let's not be snobby about it necessarily. But is this someone that you guys would be interested in us getting? Again, let me know. Leave it in the comments below. All right, let me see what you lot are saying. Come on, it's just deal. All right, drill that like button. Almost 100 people in here, which is great, fantastic. Thank you. Please do slap that like button for me. It really helps the show get noticed. And yeah, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Carrera has hot and cold games. There you go. That's someone talk about Ramos. So yeah, I hear the only thing I hear about Ramos is that he's leaving Real Madrid. He's probably been linked with us, but I've not seen the story. I would hate to get him. I've never personally been a huge Ramos fan. I must confess. I think he's got by. I think he's gone by a long way on his aggression and his pace. But good luck to him. You know, it's a storied career he's had, and I think you've got to give him credit for what he has achieved. So yeah, let's see your fresh looking trim. All right, I'm going to show you briefly because I'm topless. I don't want to show you too much. All right, I'll show you briefly. Hold on. Good. Can't complain about the content I do give you. But there you go. Somebody's got a haircut. There you go. Yeah. So fresh, so clean. There you go. South London finest, long time brother. Hope you're well. Jeez, fresh trim. You'll see the debut of it properly tomorrow. Any questions, guys? Any questions, real quick, before I head up out of here? Thank you, my guys. Thank you. You look like Denzel, bro. Simon, you charmer, you. Of course, I remember you, Ryan the Northerner, specific, who is Irish as well. You think I've forgotten? Mr. Cook, I hope you're well, brother. I do justice. I do. I say hold this space. Hold this space. But I do, yes. Particularly, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to let the Euros just come and go a little bit because I don't particularly like. If you notice, in the 4 years, 5 years I've been doing this thing, you never see me do international football. The reason being is that I find that the traffic is just slow and only half of you really like it. So there's no point actually doing it. So I tend to not focus on it at all. So I just carry on with the transfer rumors. But because I want to switch up the way I deliver the chopping block. So I want the chopping block to be with guests. And I want to do a couple of Chigno's best video series as well. So yeah, lots and lots of changes coming. I'm just waiting for a gap work-wise to be able to do it. But yeah, all things are coming. Don't worry. Which club is more fucked, Arsenal or Spurs? I'll always lean towards Arsenal because I don't know enough about Spurs' situation. I do find it hilarious that they can't seem to get a manager. They've literally had, what is it, 2 managers now? They've turned them down. So they must be really fucked. But we've also got an owner. We've got the third richest owner in the league and yet we are in the situation we're in. So something is not quite right. You're from Middlesbrough, chick. I swear you told me, Ryan, that you had some Irish descent, or that you'd been to Ireland or something like that. We had a whole conversation about it. I'm not saying that you're not from Middlesbrough. I'm saying that you've had some kind of Irish exposure to it. 4 managers. 4 managers. Who are the 4? Ryan Chapman's not a porn star. Long time no. Long time G. What do you think? Oh, jumped off the screen, brother. What do you think about the right back situation? It's gone quiet for me. The key position. Let's hope that work is being done. I've noticed that as well, and I'm hoping it's because work is being done. But yes, I'm not too worried about that. But to answer your question, I, I think because the player wants to go, and the manager does not mind him going, and we hopefully should see something happen. Nagelsmann, oh, of course, Ten Hag is the one I forgot. Nagelsmann, I heard about. I didn't know it was official. Ten Hag, of course, yeah. 4 managers, yeah. They might as well go for Nuno and stop fucking around. Yeah, I'm okay, man. Getting by. I'm getting by. Oh, ignore me then, right, Ryan. I could have sworn we had this whole conversation where you were talking about recommending me a place, an area to go to. And the only thing that stood out in my mind where I've had a discussion like that is Ireland. So I knew that you lived up north. I don't know why I thought that. Very vivid thought. Because he's a good player, Ben. Why would he come to us right now? Why would he come? We're not in that market anymore, unfortunately, man. Maybe next year, but not this year. See, this is another reason I would have changed the manager because in a year where we don't have European football, you could have replaced it by bringing in a big name manager who players actually want to play for, like a Conte, for example. Do I see Laka leaving? Possibly. Possibly. Depends how hard Arsenal fight to keep him. If they decide that they want to keep him one more season, then I think he'll end up staying. Yeah, Rafa or something, although apparently Rafa's going to Everton, which, by the way, I find unbelievable. What do you think of the Euros so far? Yeah, it's been all right. I must admit, I've not watched anything other than France and England games that closely. It's been okay. It's been okay. I've been watching it just very loosely. Who would I assign as our number 10? Grealish. I'd love us to go and get Grealish. I wouldn't have said that. I know it's such a typical answer to give. But if we're talking about fucking Madison, then fuck that. Go all the way and go and get Grealish. All right. All right, guys. I'm gonna head up out of here. I'll try and do another show. What's tomorrow? Friday. I'll realistically, I'll do another show on Sunday. So make sure you catch me on Sunday. I hope you guys are well though. Take care. Enjoy the weekend. If I don't speak to you before then, and yeah, stay safe out there, guys. All right, man. Leave you to it. Peace. A Town down. Arteta out. Always and forever. Always and forever.